Yeah, so I'm the master franchisee for Body Street here in the UK. That's for the UK and Ireland. My primary goal is to help and facilitate the support of our franchisees so that they achieve their business objectives. The Body Street started trading in the UK in 20. Well, we signed the master rights in June 2016, just before we voted for Brexit. We opened the first studio in July 2016. And we ran that business for about 18 months to prove the German model, bring it into the UK. And then from there, we started to franchise. We're fairly unique at Body Street in the fact that we offer all our franchisees that join us a break-even guarantee. So we say that they'll achieve operating break-even in 6 months or less, so long as they follow our system. So one of the things we needed to quantify was the territory big enough, and was the demographics the right people in that location to mean that studio is going to work. Because we don't knowingly want to let a studio open where we don't believe they'll achieve operating break even in 6 months or less. A, it's not good for them, and B, it's not good for us. There are a number of solutions out there. For me, the flexibility which is offered with your product was really good. The fact that I could have a subscription that I could turn on and turn off depending on when I needed it was number one. And for me, once I actually started playing with the product, it's so simple to operate. There's an awful lot of products out in the marketplace that almost require a degree in global information systems. Good or bad, it's such a simple piece of software. Don't need loads and loads of support. I don't think I've actually reached out to the support team. The fact that I can literally just click and point and drag and pull and I can pick whether I want a radius, a drive time, or actually just pick specific postcodes. It's just easy. And if I've done something wrong, I can just delete it and it doesn't change everything. It's very, very, very simple. It's most probably going to be the headline of the case study. This is so simple, you should do it. But it is just simple. And for me, the fact that I can cut and dice the territory map. So I've got inquiries, I've got deposits, I've got territories granted, and I've got studios opened, all in the same mapping. And I can cut and dice it however I want. So that's really useful as well to see where, if I got a potential inquiry, that I'm not then, getting into the position of having a conversation with somebody about a territory that's not available, or is too close to another territory. Very quickly, I can see if there's going to be a conflict. So if you were an inquirer of a franchise, the first thing I do is look to see whether or not that territory's got viability before I engage with you in conversation about going through our process of granting a franchise. So that's the first step in any engagement with a potential franchisee. Assuming that engagement is positive and that the territory is positive, I will then obviously illustrate to them how we can support them with their demographic information and the territory they're choosing by showing them what the mapping can do. Once they end the position whereby the franchisee has placed a deposit on the territory, we then issue them a report on the territory, which they can then use and integrate into their franchise business plan. So they can use that not only for them obviously presenting to us why we should grant them a franchise, but equally, if they're going for funding, it's got a lot of data in there for a potential funder to see that the territory is viable. And then obviously once the territory is granted, it will allow them to obviously start looking at heat mapping to see where inquiries are coming from and leads are coming from, and being able to push that information back. We also, as part of that process as well, we do a competitive analysis. So we see where other players within our sector, specifically fitness, are operating, to see whether or not the franchisee is looking at going into a dense or less dense territory with regard to potential competition. Quite an interesting use I used of the mapping recently was I had a little bit of a conflict with a franchisee and a potential franchisee. So the franchisee was claiming that opening a studio in the location we were looking for the potential franchisee would encroach on their business. So we were actually able to map every single customer, current and past, that the operating franchisee had, and show them that where we were looking to locate this new studio wouldn't affect their business because the travel time and everything else. And that was quite a useful piece of using the tool. Hey, look, it's going to surprise you, this answer. It's a very simple but incredibly comprehensive product. So the fact that I can pull a report that gives demographics, that gives competition, that gives population ethnicity, all the data it can produce within seconds, and I haven't had to spend hours with one of your technical experts learning how to do this mapping. To me, that's why it's so simple. Yeah, I think the piece of advice is with all franchises, make sure that your operating system works and make sure people follow it. It's as simple as that. I've been around franchising for a long time, actually. I'm just trying to work it out, 20 odd years, maybe more. And it still amazes me, people who invest in a franchise and invest in a model and then don't follow it. So I think the number one is make sure you've got a robust operating system and a method, and make sure people follow it. As a franchisor, yes, have robust systems and processes and operations, but understand people need to be able to use their own skills and their own take on and how to implement. But it shouldn't be as such that they then changes the game. And I suppose if I continue on the sports game, if you go to a soccer stadium and all of a sudden somebody picks up the ball and runs with it, they clearly changed the game. It's now become rugby and it's not football. It's no longer identifiable as football. Even though they're playing on a football pitch in a football stadium, if they pick it up and run with it, it's no longer the same game. And that's franchising.